24 years ago, we were staring into the abyss. We said never again, and yet there we were.
This is it then.
We speak to the players and the coaches who were there 24 years ago.
On that season, there was an atmosphere in the ground where it's like, well, no, everybody has to come together here because the consequences of what could happen just don't even bear thinking about.
Michael Ball as far away as possible.
I think I might have been the last person to touch the ball. I just remember just kicking it as far as I can. It might have gone into the main stand or somewhere, probably just sliced it. I just wanted to boot to the ball as far away from our goal as possible.
But it was a great feeling once, once your blood pressure had calmed down a little bit, you felt, didn't feel too bad. It took about an hour to sink in, but it was a great feeling, to know you'd survived.
And watched on again, this time as fans.
And because there's so much emotion involved, everybody gets caught up in it. But I think that was the biggest thing that stuck out for me, is that it can't be understated, the role that the fans played in that. And
I understand what the players are going through, the reactions of the players because of the fans. Look, if the fans down tools this season, we were gone. That was it. The fans were fantastic. That made the players stand up and be counted. And then the players ended up doing a job at the end of the day, but that's all down to the fans.
We're also joined by the bomber, Tony Bellew, to give us his thoughts 24 years apart on Everton's relegation fights.
He steps over the barrier. That vision will stay with me forever. There's thousands, and it felt like hundreds of thousands of people were on that pitch, because it's just a sea of Evertonians singing, screaming, jumping. And they've got their hands in the air, and he just puts his hands up like that. And at that point, I'm just thinking, this is nuts, mate. This is absolutely nuts. He's singing Everton songs, and yeah.
24 years on, never again. Hello and welcome to Across the Park podcast, an Everton FC special. We've done a few of these called 24 Years On, Never Again, where we talk to people who were part of 1998 and then watched 2022 as a fan. This man was a big part of 1997-98. He was the first team coach at Everton Football Club, and I think he's making his Everton FC podcasting debut. It's a pleasure to be joined by Mr. Viv Busby. Viv, thank you for joining Across the Park. First of all, how are you doing?
Not so bad, Ian, thanks. Obviously, we're in Spain and it's a bit hot out here, but I believe you're getting the same sort of temperatures back there at the moment.
Yeah, look, I don't wear these for fashion, Viv. It's really, really hot here at the moment. It's touching 35. Yeah, touching 35, 36. And as you know, us Scousers aren't quite made for that, so we're all struggling.
Brilliant.
What we want to do, Viv, is talk about the Coventry game and then the Crystal Palace game. But, I mean, we can't get you on and maybe not talk a bit about that year in general. First of all, Howard Kendall gets the call, and he comes back for a third spell as Everton manager, and he brings along Adrian Heath and yourself. Can you remember your memories of joining Everton, how that happened, and were you excited by that?
Well, it's very clear in my mind, Ian. We'd been at Sheffield United and we got to the playoffs.
Yeah.
We were beat by Crystal Palace to go into the Premier League, so that was a bit of a sickener. So then we all decided to go on holiday, go our own different ways.
Yeah.
And I used to go down to Marbella, and Howard had a place down there that he used to rent, and it was about 10 minutes from me. And he rang me up one day. He'd only been there about 2 weeks, and he said, "Can we meet up?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem, yeah." So I thought he just wanted to have a drink and a bit of lunch, He said, "Bill Kenwright's been on." And I went, "What?" He said, "Bill Kenwright's been on, wants me to take the job."
Wow.
And I said, "Blimey, third time lucky, is it, or what?" And he went, "Well, that is a bit of a problem." But he said, "You know what it's like. The club's magnificent." And I said, "Howard, if you're asking me to come with you, and would I go, not stay at Sheffield United? I said, I'll be the first one in the car to get there. I said, it's a magnificent club. It's been brilliant over the years. It's Premier League and the fans are amazing. So if it was down to me, I would say, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
So we got back and that was it. He spoke to Bill and we went up and had a chat and that was it. We were there. It didn't please the Sheffield United fans very much, I don't think.
No, I think there was compensation arguments between the two clubs and things, wasn't there? And I think it was quite late in the summer, maybe not really late, but I think it was at least heading into maybe late June when you guys came, which is not the norm, really, is it?
No, I mean, ideally, you like to take over so you can get all your pre-season sorted out, and so if you're leaving it a bit late now, it's a bit like Ten Hag at Man United at the moment. He said yesterday that he'd love to have all his players in to start the pre-season, but it's not possible. So some scenarios break the tradition a little bit, which you can't help. But it means you have to, you have to cram a bit of work into very few days and get your pre-season underway and get sorted out and find out what's been left for you. If there's any tours been, made, or they're going to got commitments to go somewhere. But no, it was great. It was just great to take over and to go in there and work with those lads. It was fantastic.
What were your first impressions, Viv, of Belfield, Goodison, and the squad? Because the squad the season prior, they sort of tailed off and had a really close shave with relegation. When you walked in, were you impressed by what you seen, or?
Yeah, I mean, first day at the training ground, the first person I bumped into was Gary Speed. God bless him. Nick Barmby, and those two boys were an epitome of professionalism. We used to start training at 10:30. They'd start at 10, do their own warm up, and then start with us at 10:30 and do extras afterwards. They were absolutely unbelievable. And then you had people like Slaven Bilic, Terry Phelan, people like that, Dave Watson, and you think, well, why did these struggle a bit last year, which they did. But it was good to get working with them, get to know them. Big Dunk was there, obviously. So trying to get to work with Dunk and get his confidence in you was another little tester. But it was great to work with him, and all the players were different class.
Yeah, I think that summer, when I remember it and I look back and research it, I think it was a difficult summer in relation to transfers, because we had Fabrizio Ravanelli, who was being rumoured to come in, the likes of Paul Ince being rumoured to come in. They never quite happened, and we ended up buying some young players, the likes of John Oster, Gareth Farrelly, Danny Williamson. Can you recall that being a bit of a difficult summer in relation to bringing the right players in? Yeah,
I think Howard, how do I phrase this? I don't think he saw eye to eye with the chairman, to be honest. And obviously when you go into a club, you have to assess the previous season. What sort of players do they need? Can we top the squad up, or you need to change? You need to change faces. You can't keep going with the same old faces. Even though they're good players, they get fed up of hearing the same old voice, and so you need to change bodies. It's one of them things that Jack Charlton used to say when he managed at Middlesbrough: if you don't change the players once every 4 years, they'll change you. So that's the way it was. But unfortunately, we went to look at Gareth Farrelly. He was playing for Aston Villa at Walsall Reserves, and he was a good player. Johnny Oster was another young lad. But these were young lads and maybe not equipped for the Premier League at the time. But that was all we could get. We got Don Hutchinson in, we got Mitch Ward in, and they weren't a lot of money, and that was basically what we had. And I think the final day capped it for Howard, I think. He was so pleased to stay up. That was incredible, because he was the manager of the year or the century, and he would have been the first one to take him down. And it was a really tense game. And all Howard kept doing was looking up at the stand. Bill Kenwright was in the stand, and he got Chelsea Bolton on, and he kept shouting down, 1-0, 1-0, no problem, carry on. And it was really tense, because we were all looking up, and then obviously if Chelsea beat Bolton and we got a draw, that was us safe, and that's exactly what happened. So it was euphoria afterwards. Like it was an
Yeah.
amazing season, a lot of stress season, as you get now, and as Frank will know now, it's not good down the bottom end. It's pressure. There's no pressure at the top. Everybody says, "Oh, there's pressure at the top. You got to win things." No, the pressure's all at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's where that is. You don't need to be at the bottom because every game is a pressure game, and every point is so valuable. As Frank found out last season, at the end of last season, the games that you think he was going to win, and they go down and they're getting beat. And you think, is it ever going to change? And you start to lose a bit of belief in yourself, which you can't do. And you have to keep the players believing that they can make it, they can do it, which he did in a good style.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to get into that, and I want to talk more about Coventry if you don't mind. But there's a couple of things that happened in that season that were big moments to get your input on. The first one, the biggest moment really for me, is Neville Southall left the club. We brought Thomas Myra in. I read an article with Mervyn Day, who was the goalkeeper coach, and he said that Howard stressed over, moving Neville on because he had such a relationship with him that predated, obviously, 97, 98. Can you remember, was that the case? Was Howard worried over that? And what are your memories of Neville Southall, first of all, being there and then leaving the club?
Right. Well, Neville was a fantastic goalkeeper. First and foremost, he was unbelievable. He'd read things. You try and bend one in, and he'll just sit there with his cap on it. Oh yeah, what are you trying to do? Hey, you trying to beat me? You got no chance. And that was him. He was full of rabbit during the training sessions, and sometimes he didn't take it too seriously because it was too easy for him. But we tried to get him to say, "Come on, Nev, do a little bit for us," because the lads want to be tested and. And then we got a shout about Thomas Myra, and we were playing. I'll never forget this in my life. We were playing Leeds away, and Thomas was with us. And Howard said, "I got some job tonight, Viv." He said. I said, "What's all that?" He said, "I've got to leave Neville out." And I went, "You've got to." He said, "I haven't got to, but I'm going to." So I went, "Oh Jesus, I don't fancy that one, mate." I said, "You know what Neville is a bit of a character, isn't he? A bit feisty." So anyway, Howard went to his room about 10 o'clock after something to eat, and he didn't surface till the morning. And he come down for breakfast. So I said, "How did it go?" "As expected," he said. "Not too clever, but I've had to tell him that we got a new goalkeeper now. He's come to the end of his time." Which was really hard for the work he'd put in with me, and what he'd done for me was really, really difficult. But he said that's part of management. Sometimes you get good things happen, sometimes you get bad things happen, and you have to face them, hit them head on, and that's where you paid the money to do that job. Not easy, not easy to do that. No, but Thomas came in and...
Oh, go on, sorry.
So I say Thomas came in, played that day at Leeds, and I think we drew. I'm not sure. I think Speedo missed a penalty.
Yeah.
Yes.
We drew 0-0. That's right, Gary Speed missed the penalty. We drew 0-0,
Yeah, I remember that. That was in the first half as well, wasn't it? The penalty.
Yeah, I think Thomas made some good saves in that game, didn't he, as well?
I think he did, yeah. I think he did. And I remember the lads coming off and we were doing all right at that time. And I remember one or two of them saying, "Perhaps we can get into Europe," and I'm thinking, that'd be all right if we can do that. But it was sustaining it. But that was a great result, and Thomas had a great debut. And basically that was Neville over, I think.
I don't know whether this was a masterstroke or you stumbled on it, but you made Big Duncan the captain, and you just got, even as a fan, it just seemed like we got that extra 5 or 10% from Duncan. I remember him scoring a hat-trick on, I think it was on Boxing Day against Bolton, and then his form at the end of the season, he scores an Merseyside derby at Anfield, he scores in a big win against Leeds. What was behind the decision to make Duncan captain for you and Howard and Adrian, and then how would you describe Duncan as a captain?
Well, I think, again, he's one of these. When he's on the pitch, you wouldn't want to play against him. He's one of them. Yeah. He can lose it a little bit, and I had to step a couple of times. He was about to clonk somebody, and I've run on the pitch and go, "Whoa, leave it," but he was prone to do that. But He was a good leader, and we thought we made him captain because he was, what I say, he wasn't in his shell, but he was very hard to get to know. He was very hard to talk to, Ian. He had all that rubbish at Rangers or wherever he was, where he got stitched up and he wasn't talking to anybody. He wouldn't talk to any press. He wouldn't talk to any of the players. He didn't want to get involved in socials. He was, he was just a figure on his own. So we thought if we made him captain, he might have to come out of his shell a little bit.
Yeah.
And we might be able to get a bit closer to him and ask him to do one or two things that maybe at the minute he wasn't going to do.
Yeah.
The thinking behind it, and he did a good job, and I think he did spur him on a little bit. Because I remember just after that, I was living down the docks, and after training on a Wednesday, the lads got the day off Wednesday. I mean, he went, "You're down the docks, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What are you doing this afternoon?" I said, "Nothing really." I said, "I just got to do what I'm doing tomorrow, get that planned out." And he said, "Then I'll be off home. Fancy a pint on the docks?" And I went, "Well, you can't refuse. If he's asking you to go for a pint, that's pretty good news." So we went down to the docks and had a couple of pints, and we started chatting away, and he opened up a little bit. He was going to get married. His crazy life went out the window. We concentrated. He got rid of his, and I got on really well with him, and Howard did after that as well. Just to get him involved was important. Ian, I mean, we were out at a lunch somewhere one day. We weren't in town. We were out somewhere, and it was a sponsored day or something, and it was a Wednesday, so the lads were off, and there was only about 6 of us, I think, the kit man and the physio and a couple of people sponsoring the meal. And the owner said, "Viv, there's a call for you." And I thought, who knows where I am here? Like, that's ridiculous. Anyway, went and took the call, and he went, "Viv, it's Big Dunk." So I went, "Hi, Dunk, how you doing? Are you at the restaurant?" I said, "Of course I'm at the restaurant. You're ringing me, aren't you?" He said, "Is it all right if me and wee Mitch pop in for a pint?" I said, "Yeah, get yourself in. Don't worry about it." He said, "Is the boss there?" I said, "Yeah, you better ask him." I said, "No, it'll be all right. Just get yourself up." So anyway, I went back to Howard and I said, "That's Fergie and Mitch are coming in for a pint." "Oh, marvellous," he said, "marvellous." So, and that was Howard. He loved all that, and again, it was trying to get close to him, so anything you could do, as long as it was in permitted times, it was fine. So they came up, just him and Mitch, they had a couple of pints and then cleared off. So, but that was good, yeah. So,
we've had some previous guests on, but we've gone through. We've got Don Hutchison, we've had Alan Myers, Michael Ball, Danny Cadamartri, Tony Grant, Michael Branch, and they all say about Howard and that year, and obviously the whole coaching team, despite it being on the pitch not great, off the pitch it was brilliant that Howard brought this. Really, he was big on the social. Everyone going away. There was trips abroad in the middle of the season, and there was certain nights out. Have you got any good tales to tell us from those times in 97, 98, where the team building days out and the team building trips away?
Best stories can't be told, Ian.
And you're not the first person to have said. You're not the only person to have said that. We've got little bits here and there. So Don Hutchison told us about a trip. I think it was over to Cyprus. Michael Branch was behind the bar trying to get champagne and things, and Michael Branch loves that story when he was on as well. And Bawley says there was great trips away. Danny Cadamartri told us a story about playing Wimbledon away on a Saturday, and you all went down on a Wednesday night instead.
Yeah, it was great. He used to love that, and Howard used to think that was a team building, team spirit. Because if he used to go out, say you go out locally, and he'd box somewhere off. So we'd ask the owners if they could bring 30 people in and make sure nobody else is in there. You'll make some money, that'd be fine, no problem.
Yeah.
But what he used to do was, halfway through, he used to say, "Right, up you get, Branchy, your turn for a song or a joke. If you don't tell a joke on, it's 50 quid in the bin." So he put them under pressure, and the laughs we used to get out of that was incredible. And I remember when we went to Where did you say we went to on that tour?
I think I'm sure John said Cyprus. I'm pretty sure it was Cyprus, and then they had a bit of a team building exercise because he says that was where he really got to know Duncan. Because he said similar to you, Duncan was quite private, and Don really got to know Duncan over a couple of bottles of beer.
Yeah, well, we went to Cyprus. I think it was for 6. It was international break or something. So we were all thinking the weather's going to be cracking, and so Jimmy Martin, the kit man, decides not to pack any tracksuits or any warm-up tops or absolutely bold tickets. So we're all running around giving Jimmy stick, like trying to get coats and hats from everywhere. And we decided that we were going to go down, say the third day, the second day, we were going to go down and do a recce on the front to find a restaurant and take all the boys down for a lunch. So we go down, the staff, I think 6 of us again, not like there is now 600. There were 6 of us. We went down onto this restaurant right on the beach. It was a bit cloudy, not too cold today. So we had a few scoops and food. And then we booked the restaurant for the following day for 30 people. And as we going out, I said to Howard, what about the bill? We need to pay the bill. I'll sort that out. He said, don't worry about that. I went, no, come on, we need to sort it out. No, he said, leave it, I'll sort it out. So the following day we go down, and 2 weeks before, Big Duncan got a yellow card for no apparent reason. So Howard said, I'm going to fine him. But what he did, he didn't fine him his full wages. He'd say to him, right, when we go for a Chinese, you're paying for the Chinese. That's a lot for than 20 weeks. So you'll pay for the... So they all loved that, didn't they? Because they were paid in fortunes. So we get to this restaurant on the beach, 30 of us, everybody's sipping it up, drinking that. 5 hours later, we go, right, better get the bill. So Dunk says, this is my round, lads, for the yellow card. So he goes up, pays the bill. He comes back, you cheeky bastards. So I went, what's up, Dunk? He said, you've only put your bill on mine for yesterday.
If you don't mind, we'll just move forward to the last week of that season. I think we played Arsenal away. We got beat 4-0, and then we go into a massive game where you rightly said it at the start of the show. Not only did we have to get a result, we needed things to go our way as well. So it was. I was only a teenager and I was having sleepless nights. Everton Football Club do not need to do that to a teenager. But what was it like for you as the first team coach and setting a training that week and going into that game? What was it like?
Well, first of all, when you're in a situation like that, I think you have to take the pressure off the players because the last thing you want them doing is worrying about what's going to happen and this, that and the other. So we didn't do anything serious that week. It was like topping up a bit of fitness, a lot of 7-a-side, bit of possession, a few little sprints, day off. I think we gave him a Wednesday off. I'm not sure, but it was all about the build up to the Saturday, obviously. And what we did Saturday morning, it was a Saturday, wasn't it, that game?
No, it was a Sunday. I think they just changed it to every game was a Sunday because Sky Sports. This is how old I am. They were just starting to get the 1, 2, and 3 and 4 channels where they could show multiple games.
Right. So it was a Sunday then, and we booked a coach to take us down to the sea. There's a little beach not far away from the city centre. I don't know which one it's called, Ian, but we went down there.
New Brighton, is it perhaps?
It might have been, yeah. Nice bit of beach, a couple of little cafes on the front. We had a walk, stopped for a cup of tea, jumped back on the bus, went back for a pre-match, and that's when it all started. And it was excuse me, terrifying, to be honest. But you can't let that go. You can't show that to the players. Obviously, you have to go, come on, lads, let's get out and enjoy it. Let's do our best, give everything you've got, the normal sort of chit-chat. And you can't play with fear. You can't play with fear. No, nobody can do that. So that was basically what we did. And it turned out all right because the previous week, I've been doing a bit of work with Gareth Farrelly, He used to get on the edge of the box, and he got a good shot on him, both feet, and he was reluctant to let it go. So I got him a couple of afternoons back at the training ground, just for half an hour. And I stood in the goal, and I just smashed balls at him from the outside. He was on the outside of the box, outside the D. And I was giving him instructions. Take 2 and hit it. Take 1 and hit it. Take 3, go around the cone and hit it.
Yeah.
And he was doing that pretty well. And on the day, he scored one like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
I absolutely remember. So it was all down to you. You were the man who saved Everton Football Club.
Well, we just did some work with him, thinking, this, if he gets one in a game, and he was unbelievable. He's like giving it all back. Yeah, it worked, So, and then of course Dion Dublin scored, which put the mockers on it a little bit. But then, as I say, Bill gave us a shout from upstairs where he got beat. So it turned out a fantastic day in the end, really. But like a lot of people say, why do you have to celebrate not going down? You shouldn't be celebrating that. You should be celebrating if you win the league, or if why celebrate going down? It means you haven't been good enough. Well, these people that say that they're not really football fans, are they? Because if that's the way the fans feel, 35, 40,000 in there, and they want to celebrate, they're going to celebrate, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're in the Premier League once again, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was on the pitch. I ran on the pitch, and I'm not going to make no bones about it. And I ran on the pitch the other month in the Palace game. But you mentioned there, Dion Dublin scored late on. And my memories of that, and now I may be really exaggerating here, but it started to rain. It started to get dark. The anxiety in the ground literally just went up. And the way it wasn't social media, and you didn't have these apps on your phone. People had the radios, and people were asking what was going on.
Right.
What's it like? What's it like for you to stand on a touchline? And I imagine you've got such responsibility to feel that anxiety from a ground and watch Coventry equalise.
Yeah, it does rub off on you, because you can tell the intensity in the crowd. Every time there's a mistake or you give a ball away, the crowd are on, and and the voices speak to you. You can hear them loud. You can hear everyone. Don't make any mistake about that. But all you have to do is keep focused and keep the boys focused to hang on to the 1-1. We didn't necessarily need to go and score another one because Bolton were getting beat.
Yeah.
So if we could have hung on to the 1, then we knew we were going to be all right. So, but it ain't a nice place to be.
No.
I couldn't be there now.
Yeah, and what we'll get into in a minute is I did go through it all again as an Evertonian. So in 1998, I think we all turned around and said we can never go through this again. But here we are. Before we get to that, just if you don't mind, what was it like after the game with the staff and the players? Was it relief? Was it celebrations? Emotion? What was it like?
Yeah, we got the fizz out, I think, in the dressing room. The lads were, ecstatic. Obviously, got another year in the Premier League, which was important. Howard was doing cartwheels, Inchie was doing cartwheels. So I couldn't do a cartwheel, I was too old. But it was a great feeling once, once your blood pressure had calmed down a little bit, you felt, didn't feel too bad. It took about an hour to sink in, but it was a great feeling, to know that you'd survived.
Yeah, and then just to put a full stop on your Everton career, it was about a month or so later that the decision was made by Peter Johnson at the time that Howard would be removed, and in turn that means you and Adrian go. First of all, what are your memories of how you left Everton, and looking back, are you quite proud of what you did with a really young group of players there that it could have really went the other way?
Yeah, I mean, when you look back, you think, well, we didn't really get support for, what I can say, senior players, but, 28, 29-year-olds, we were getting in young ones because they wouldn't let us have any money for anybody else. So it was a difficult thing. And then we were in the office one day, and Howard just said, I'm meeting the chairman this afternoon. So we went, what? He said, meeting. We went, right, well, don't do anything silly. And he went, I'll meet you at the pub at the bottom of the road. So there was a pub on the motorway, or the main road outside Belfield. I can't remember what it was called. So, yeah, so he said, well, I'll meet you there about 3 o'clock. So he come over and he said, I've packed in. So he said, I couldn't agree with him. So he said, I've come to a deal with him and that's me finished. So I went, oh, Jesus H, because you're just thinking, you just survived. We got another year here. Maybe there could be an influx of a bit of cash and, it might not be a struggle like it was the year just gone. But he made his mind up. And so then that was on the Thursday. I think it was Fergie's wedding on the Saturday.
Wow.
So Howard decided not to go. We'd all been invited. It was in Manchester, the reception. So he had paid for everything, Fergie, all the rooms for 2 nights and all everything. It was an amazing do. He had the drifters on and everything. It was like incredible. But Howard said, I can't go. He said, because everybody would be talking to me about leaving. He said, I don't want to put the mockers on Duncan Janine's wedding day.
Wow.
So me and Inchie went, and then Inchie had a chat with, who was the chief executive at the time, I can't remember. And Inchie come back and said, I've just done a deal with him, I'm off.
Wow.
So I went, oh, right. Cheers, lads. So, all right, Jack. So,
is it fair to say that for a portion of Duncan Ferguson's wedding, you were the Everton caretaker manager? Would that be fair to say?
I wouldn't go that far, no. But the chief exec came up and said I could do having a word with you tomorrow or Monday. And I said, yeah, all right. He said, Walter Smith's taking over. And I went, oh, right. He said, and he wants you to stay.
Wow.
I went, oh, right. So anyway, I had a chat with him on Monday, and Walter was there as well. And I said, he said, do you want to stay, Viv? And I said, well, it's very nice of you, Walter. I said, I really appreciate the thought. I said, but I came to work with Howard, and I'm a loyal person. I said, Howard's gone, Inch is gone. I said, if you don't mind, would you sort my contract out for me with the chairman? And I'll go along with the 2 lads. And he said, is that what you want? And I went, yeah. He said, and he went, no, that's fine. If that's one, I'll sort that out for you. And he, true to his word, he sorted it out. And that was that.
Wow.
So very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Yeah, it's little stories like that we as fans that don't know. I mean, how loyal coaches, staff, and things can be to each other. And you never see this unless people like you come on podcasts and share the story. So thanks for sharing that story. That was really, really great. And I think it shows how much of a man Howard was as well. I mean, he you know what? God love him. God rest his soul. He was Mr. Everton to us as kids, and even to my generations before me, watching the 80s team. But if you put yourself forward into sort of present day, I know you're out of the game now, and you're living the high life over in different countries, Spain and things, and you can see by the colour of your skin you're really enjoying the sunshine. So I'm very, very jealous. But when you're watching the Premier League last season with a cold drink and you're trying to enjoy it, and you see Everton 24 years on back in that situation, how are you feeling? How did they get there? What was it like for you as an ex-Everton, first team coach to watch that again? Something that you guided Everton through or helped guide Everton through. Here we are again.
Yeah, because you last thing you need to do at home on the last game of the season, when you need to win, is to go 2-0 down at half time. And to be fair to Palace, they played very well. They were organised, and I really couldn't see them conceding 3 goals. But so much changed at half time. Whether Frank's gone in with a boot or whatever, or the verbals, but so much definitely changed. So they pepped it up a gear. They pepped it up 20%, and found cracks in the defence, and an absolutely marvellous comeback. And to see the fans run on, and I was dancing around the room here. It was incredible. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
It
Saved
must
again.
have
That's
brought
what
it
we
back.
said.
Yeah, it must have really
Oh,
brought
yeah,
it back.
Yeah, very much so. Because I mean, Barb wasn't there when in that year, but she said, "Is this what it was like?" I said, "This is what it was exactly like. Exactly like this." So she said, "How do you deal with that?" I said, "I don't know, but you used to have to, you know." But
Yeah.
I tell you what, 2-0 down at half time, you're not giving yourself much of a chance, are you? Although the game's
No,
45 minutes long, you have to have faith in your team. But deep down in the back of your head, you're thinking, "I'm not sure about this one."
Yeah,
But
I
fair
mean,
play
it
to them.
was.
They all dug in. They all dug in.
That's what I will say, Viv, is I was there, and the full-time pint tasted a lot better than the half-time pint, but the half-time pint went down quicker.
I bet.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of the show with Viv Busby. Viv did have some we had some connection issues over in Spain, so unfortunately we lost him near the end there. But I've spoken to him, and he really enjoyed the podcast, and I think I have as well. Any Evertonian around my age or older who remembers that 97 onwards and the comparisons will know what Viv was talking about there. Thanks so much for watching. 24 years on, never again. We said it in 1998. I'm saying it again in 2022. I really, really hope that this is the last ever 24 years on, never again show I'm ever part of. Thanks for watching across the podcast, guys, with Viv Busby. See you all again soon.